It seems incredible, isn't it? 1.5 years ago, we started having vaccines available. 2 doses required, we went on to have a booster dose, 3 doses. In fact, some people may need a second booster dose or the fourth dose. The question is, with so many vaccines, which one is the best? Which one should you take? We're going to look into the science of it all in this YouTube session. Hi everyone! Again, after the last video on the 4 questions on the booster vaccine, now I've been asked which vaccine should I take? Should it be an mRNA vaccine again? Should it be a Novavax? Or should it be the Chinese vaccines? How good are the Chinese vaccines or Novavax as a booster? Watch this video and you can get your answers yourselves, backed with science. This video was done in about mid to late July. So for context, we have actually moved on to 3 doses of vaccine as a completion vaccine. The vaccines were designed for 2 doses initially for the Pfizer and Moderna, but you really need 3 to call it a complete vaccination. The virus has not remained the same. They have adapted. At this point in time, the main circulating viruses are BA4 and 5, and you have the BA2.75 that's trying to outrun BA4 and 5. If they can out-infect, then it becomes a dominant one. Not only do they want to run, they want to dodge. Run and dodge. Outrun and dodge the immunity which the individuals have. So this has resulted in an uptick and wave in cases all over the world. And in turn, reinfections occur. Reinfections occur because the virus can dodge the immunity which you have as an individual and you will fall sick again. Reinfections can occur as quickly as 1 month or less after your last infection. It looks like we may be never out of this yoke which Omicron, which COVID-19 is bearing on our shoulders. So many people have come forward and asked me, what vaccine should I take? These are the examples of the questions that are posed to me. Look at them. 2 Pfizers, 2 Modernas, Sinovac, Sinopharm, or I've already done a mix. What should I do next? Should I try the Novavax vaccine instead? So this video is to try to address all these and gives you a baseline, an idea, and the principles of what booster vaccine you should be taking. As a rule, you should actually mix the vaccines. When I say mix, I'm talking about Pfizer changing to Moderna, Moderna changing on to Pfizer. When you do this, you kind of improve the repertoire of immune response. What do you mean by improve? Think of it this way. My daughter has singing classes. So she has singing classes from 1 teacher, that's good. But if she has singing classes from 2 teachers, she gets to learn and train under different styles, and she gets a better repertoire in terms of training and in terms of singing. So another way of looking at it is you have a vaccine here, let's say Pfizer, that's training immune system this way. Then you have Moderna that trains the system this way. When you actually have training in both situations, you have a wider range, and that has been demonstrated. When you mix a vaccine from Pfizer, Moderna, which uses slightly different techniques, it's the minute differences, as well as different spike proteins, you end up with a better repertoire immune response. This will help you in your immune system in coping the different viruses, the mutants that will come along. So mixing in general is very good. Second rule now, we try to rank the vaccines in terms of the potency. At the top you have your mRNA, followed by your adenovirus, which will be your J&J vaccines, your AstraZeneca vaccines, and even your Sputnik Russian vaccines. Right at the bottom you have the Sinovac and Sinopharm vaccines. They do work, but in terms of potency, the mRNA and the adenovirus actually outruns them. So how do I determine this potency? We actually look at the B cell and the T cell arm. B cell is about the antibodies which are floating in the system, floating in the blood, found in your nasal secretions and throats. Think of them as missiles. They are constantly out there that will tackle and kill the virus as it comes into contact. T cell is the second line of defense, or we also call it the cellular immunity. It determines the severity of illness. So B cell, the antibodies determine your likelihood of infection. T cells determine the severity of illness. So you try to rank them up, then if you combine the B and T cells responses, then you actually have a potency ranking. Again, consistently, the mRNA vaccines are deemed to be more superior in terms of disease prevention and severity of illness. We already saw such an effect in the original ancestral or the slightly mutated form D614G of the virus. mRNA was more effective in preventing infections, and in terms of severity of illness, it was really much better. Many people ask me, what's wrong with the adenovirus? These were developed by very credible universities and research labs, but why can't the adenovirus do so well? I would prefer the adenovirus vaccine, some people would say. The reason is the adenovirus is actually the messenger. The messenger harbors the DNA and is sent into the body with the vaccine. And then the DNA gets incorporated inside and you start making the required proteins, the spike proteins. The trouble is the immune system in the body recognizes the messenger, recognizes the adenovirus as foreign. So as the messenger comes in with the message, you kill the messenger before the message is delivered. And after one exposure, the second one comes along, you recognize the messenger, your body kills the messenger before the message is delivered. Which means with each successive dose, more and more messengers are killed before the message is delivered. Hence, it doesn't work so well as a booster. And we saw that when you take a second adenovirus vaccine, such as the AstraZeneca, exactly the same, you end up having a weaker immune response. Now, the Russian Sputnik vaccine tried to overcome that. They used different adenovirus vaccines, so it is different messengers. Different messengers to try to cope with the body's immune response. The first messenger comes along, you kill some, but you didn't kill all. The second messenger comes along with a message, but because it's different, your immune system doesn't quite kill it. So that's how the Russian Sputnik vaccine tried to overcome it. So coming back, adenovirus vaccines are not very good for boosters because the immune system kills the messenger and the message is not delivered. Then what about Sinovac, Sinopharm vaccines? Well, it's because it is the adjuvant. The adjuvant, which is the substance that's added to the vaccine, doesn't stimulate the immune system so well. We're going to talk a little bit about it next. So the inactivated vaccines, such as the Sinovac and Sinopharm vaccines, is actually quite easy to make. You can grow the whole virus in big cylinders and thereafter harvest it. You then kill it either with heat or use a bit of chemicals and detergents to kill it, and there you have it, the killed virus still in its whole cell. So what you do next then is to add in a bit of aluminium inside and then split up into your different vaccines and you're done. Quite easy, and that's really very traditional. And we still do it for many of the vaccines in children, such as the childhood vaccines, for example. And we still use aluminium in vaccinating. Now, you may get worried that using aluminium in the vaccines, but honestly, the amount of aluminium inside there is minuscule. Your body won't even recognize or know that there's aluminium there. The amount of aluminium we come in contact with daily life, or the cooking utensils which you use, or the pots which you use, or the eating utensils will probably give you more aluminium than what the vaccine is giving you. So I'm not worried about the aluminium. The toxicity is none, effectively none. There is a problem, however. Tried, tested, good method, but it's not very good at stimulating the immune system. We're going to look at that next. So aluminium has been used as an adjuvant, as a stimulator for a long time. So there's a lot of experience with it. But the problem is it stimulates the T cell or the cell-mediated immunity poorer. I put this quote from this journal in verbatim. And T cell is very, very important because it determines the severity of illness. So while it is easy to make, while it's very traditional, but it doesn't do the job of training the T cell very well. So you end up with a suboptimal kind of vaccine. If you could do something better, it'd be great. This set of slides have been shown in my previous talks, and you might be familiar with it, where I talked about the B cell immunity and the T cell immunity. B cell being the first line of defense and the T cell being the second line of defense. If you think of the T cell as the second line of defense, you will also realize that it determines the severity of illness. T cell immunity affected by and in turn affects the severity of illness. So if I have a good T cell immunity, even though I get hit with the virus, I end up with a mild illness, that's fine. The problem with aluminium is that it doesn't stimulate the T cell well, and hence the severity of illness will persist. Now, what about the antibodies that are stimulated by the inactivated vaccines? Because the virus has mutated, adapted, the targeting system for the antibodies don't work so well. So your first line of defense is really impaired. So first line system impaired, virus goes through, then you really need good T cell immunity. This is where the inactivated vaccines lack. They lack the ability to prevent severe illness. So if a person were to get the Chinese inactivated vaccines, you end up more likely with severe illness, and this is something which we have seen. I'm going to go through the next piece of data with you. This is data from Singapore. Data is rather unique. You actually have the mRNA vaccines running at one, and you also have the inactivated vaccines running. So this allows you to quickly compare across the populations how effective the mRNA is, and you can compare against the inactivated whole virus vaccines. So I've taken this table from Channel News Asia. They kind of put it very nicely, and the authors, the scientists, actually made Pfizer BioNTech as a comparison. There you have it. So they put the risk as 1. So you can compare against Pfizer BioNTech as the reference. So how good is it? So for Moderna, immediately you see that the risk of infection is down at 0.84. So it's actually more effective in preventing infection compared to Pfizer BioNTech. What about severe disease? Severe disease is 0.42. So you have a 50% lowering of risk of getting severe disease at least. Very good. What about the inactivated vaccines? You have about 4.59 worse for Sinovac. For the Sinovac, risk of infection is about 2.37 higher. But what's glaring is that the risk of severe disease is even higher at about 4 times. 4 times higher for risk of severe disease. Not very good, not very ideal. But if you actually look at Sinopharm, your risk of getting infected is about 1.62, which is a slight increase. This isn't too bad. In the grand scheme of things, it isn't too bad. But surprisingly, the risk of causing severe disease is only 1.58. I expected a similar number to Sinovac, but it's actually better. So in other words, same technology, same methods, and if you actually look at the product contents, they are really the same. You have Sinovac at one end and Sinopharm at the other end, the results are really quite different. So if I have to choose and I'm forced to take a vaccine, I'll rather take the Sinopharm vaccine instead. But nonetheless, obviously the Pfizer and the Moderna are much more potent vaccines compared to the Sinovac and Sinopharm. So this is a reminder who should take the boosters and what sort of boosters you should take. Remember, the weaker you are in the immune system, the more potent you need to have your boosters. But yet many people with existing problems of heart, diabetes, obesity, various ailments including cancer, etc., they say, no, I want to take the simplest one, mildest one. That's being foolish. If you are immunocompromised, if you have existing medical illness, you really need the more potent ones to stimulate your immune system. If you try to dodge and you hedge from taking a good vaccine, then you pay the price of having a severe disease later on. It's really not worth it. I do see many of these people coming in very sick. So take the most potent vaccine, get yourself protected. That's really the lesson for this slide. Now, the question we've all been waiting for. How good a booster is the Novavax vaccine? You see a QR code down there on the screen. Scan it. You can read the paper yourself if you're game. This is the trial. This was done in 2021. It's published electronically in December 2021 and then out in print in 2022. It is a phase 2 trial, so you're actually talking about very small numbers, very small numbers, looking at comparing, should I use Novavax or the other mRNA vaccines, or what they call the viral vectors vaccines. The study is a little complicated, and I kind of broken it down for you on the slide. I want to go through details so you can understand the science behind it better. All of us had our vaccines, 2 of them were exactly the same, but in this case, they took 1 dose and followed by a second dose, which may be the same or different. Remember, the second dose may be the same or different. So the first group, it was exactly the same. You had AstraZeneca, you went on to AstraZeneca, you had Pfizer, you went on to do Pfizer. But in the second group, instead of going for the same manufacturer, they went for Moderna. So that means AstraZeneca followed by Moderna, Pfizer followed by Moderna. And the third group, they had the Novavax as the second dose. So AstraZeneca followed by Novavax, Pfizer followed by Novavax. So in other words, you have 6 groups. This is a phase 2 trial, so the numbers are actually very small. They are not large in terms of several thousands. So not exactly the ideal situation, but with a small numbers, you can still get an idea of how good the immune system is. We'll get to the results next. Here are the results. We're looking at the antibodies or the B cell arm of the immune response. Day 0 low, rises to day 7 and maintains somewhat about day 28. Which of this combination did the best? Let's look at it. The best were of course the first 2 mRNA. No surprises. And we know Moderna stimulates the immune system much better, in part because they use a lot more of the RNA per vaccine dose. So first choice, Pfizer, Moderna. And remember, when you mix, you actually have an extra advantage of stimulating a larger repertoire of immune cells. Second choice is Pfizer, which is not surprising and quite good. Next, you have the AstraZeneca Moderna. Not surprising. Every time where you have a adenovirus-based vaccine, you add in a mRNA vaccine, you do very well. And after that is the Pfizer Novavax. Pfizer Novavax is poorer compared to Pfizer or Pfizer Moderna. Again, no surprises. And the last 2 was AstraZeneca followed by Novavax, and of course the worst, AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca don't come out well because the immune system kills the messenger before the message is delivered. So there you have it. That's the immune cells from the B cell arm of it. What about the T cells? That's coming up next. Here you go. T cell, the cellular immunity ranked. Which combination did best? Day 0, day 7, day 28. You see the rising levels. That's expected. Results. First choice, surprising. AstraZeneca followed by Novavax. I didn't really quite get that. But it might be unique to this AstraZeneca Novavax. Next, you have AstraZeneca followed by Moderna. Very interesting. But no doubt Moderna does help a lot. Third ranked, Pfizer and Moderna. Fourth ranked, Pfizer and Pfizer. Number 5 is actually AstraZeneca. And I'm very, very surprised. Right at the bottom is Pfizer and Novavax. I don't quite get it, but this is it. One thing though, these are small numbers. These are small numbers, it's not a large population based ones. These are immune cell functions and we predict severity based on these measurements. Not quite right, because what I really want is the clinical outcomes, where you see how many people actually fall sick, how many people fall very, very sick. But nonetheless, these are figures that help me. So what's my conclusion for it all? It tells me that the mixing of vaccines are really very, very good. You do a Pfizer followed by Moderna, Moderna followed by Pfizer. Then if you have PPM or Pfizer, Moderna, or Moderna, Pfizer, what can you do? You can switch back with the last dose as a Moderna, or if you didn't quite like Moderna and you want to switch back to Pfizer, I think the difference is minuscule. If you can tolerate a Moderna, by all means, go for the Moderna vaccine. Now, the booster shot for the Moderna has been reduced to half in certain places. So you may not get exactly the same thing, but I don't think it makes a big difference. As long as you have a mix of Pfizer and Moderna, that's fine. If I have to choose a vaccine, my first choice is mRNA, followed by Novavax, then followed by inactivated vaccine as a booster. Those are my choices available. Again, I'm not keen on getting AstraZeneca as a booster because you kill the messenger and the message is not delivered. If you have the AstraZeneca vaccine, there's adenovirus based ones, then you can choose the mRNA and Novavax as a booster. I would prefer mRNA, but fine, because of the good T-cell response, you can take the Novavax as a booster instead. If you only had the inactivated vaccines like Sinovac, Sinopharm, I would urge you to get yourself an mRNA vaccine. That's the best way to keep your antibodies up, at the same time boost your T-cell. That's it. That's the conclusion for this talk. I hope you had a bit of fun watching this video and understanding the science behind the choice of boosters. And I hope that you have a clearer idea of what we should use as a booster. If you're not sure you should get a booster, watch my YouTube on the 4 questions for your second booster vaccine. Again, subscribe, give me a like as well, give me a thumbs up. Encourage me to actually make more videos for you. Do you have a follow-up question? Ask us. We'll try to address the next question in the next video. Thank you. Bye.